everyone, this is Nikki from Little Blue Artworks, and today I'm going to show you the basics of needle felting, and I'm going to show you how to make this cute little felted heart. So first we're going to talk about the tools that we need. A pad or a mat to place your wool on while you're stabbing with your felting needles. You don't want your needles to break, so you need something that can take the impact of the needle behind what you're working on. So I'm going to start with one of the cheaper options, which is this bit of plastic foam. You get this kind of thing in packaging a lot, so you can always repurpose or reuse. This, however, does have a certain feel and make a certain noise to it, which I'll let you hear. It's fairly loud as you're stabbing, although it feels nice and easy to go through. And this will obviously stop your needle breaking while you're working on your project. However, this will in time start to flatten and eventually you have to throw it out. I try not to recommend using anything plastic, opt for biodegradable materials. Therefore, in all my kits, all the mats and pads will be handmade with biodegradable natural materials. Another option is sponge. I'll show you a piece of sponge that I've been working on for well over a year now. This is a large piece of sponge. It's quite dense. It's the kind of sponge you would get to cover a seat. If you make a cover for your sponge, which this one has, it will last longer. However, even with the cover, eventually you will start to see your sponge come apart, and without the cover, pieces of this sponge will come off and into your artwork. This is also synthetic, therefore non-biodegradable, and I have now stopped buying any of these sponges for this reason. You do, however, get natural sponges which you can use. Here's a nice big thick piece of sponge. I use this in my classes when we are doing a flat piece of felt or a felted painting. This is natural and therefore biodegradable, and it's good to work on. It will eventually start to pick apart, but it will last you a while, and this is the sound you get. It's quite a nice satisfying sound, and it's less noisy than the plastic one. And lastly, we can look at handmade pads. This is a handmade felting mat that I have, and I sell these in my Etsy store. This is a smaller size, and this here is a larger size. I sell both the small and the larger mats in my Etsy store, or you can make your own. So with these mats, you just basically, you can get some good quality material and sew yourself a small bag, and you can fill this up with rice or lentils, and in my case I use organic buckwheat husks, as this is lightweight, so something you can carry around easily in a project bag if you like to felt on the go. And the larger ones are the same. These have all been lined so that this will last longer, having the double layer, as eventually the material will start to pick apart. But again, these last quite a long time, and they're just really pleasant to work on. I'll let you hear the noise it makes. They're also just nice and soft. They smell good. On the market there is now other forms of biodegradable mats. There is earth mats as well as full wool felted mats. Now I'll go over some of the needles that you might be using in your projects. For most of my kits and in my classes, I use 3 sizes of needles. I color code these: large, medium and small. The large one we usually use is the 32, the 36 is the medium, and the 38 is the fine or the small. Each one of these needles has a very sharp point. If you're working with younger people on their needle felting, please make sure they're supervised and have some finger protectors or some plasters handy. This needle here is triangular shape, as all of these are. You do, however, get different shape. The way this one works is it's got 3 barbs on each side of the triangle. So we've got 9 barbs altogether. Those barbs are tiny little hooks that face downwards towards the point of the needle. And while you're stabbing downwards, they're hooking onto those fibers and matting them together. So the point's going through the wool, the hooks are holding onto the fibers, and they're rubbing down against each other and therefore matting. And so when you start off with a piece of wool that's really just big and fluffy and you start stabbing it down, this then becomes smaller and denser as it starts to mat together. And that's what felting is. It works exactly the same for the medium one. The needle is slightly thinner, and again for the small one here for fine detail. Also, if you're working with pure natural fibers like wool, they will have hair follicles which will rub up and down against each other, and therefore the friction would further cause the felting process to happen. Now you can get needle holders like this one here. This keeps the needle nice and safe. It also stops it from breaking. That's in there. I find with them they sometimes just tend to slip out. For this which reason I just use the needles as they are unless I'm doing a larger project. Then you can go up to using something like this, which is a pen tool. It has 3 needles in it and they work the same way at triple the speed. You also have even larger tools where you can go up to 8 needles in this one, and that's the different needles that I tend to use. Just have a look around the market and see what's out there. All these needles felt down the way. You always have to be very careful you're not going in and out at an angle because your needle will break, especially the small fine ones. So be careful with your needles. A lot of the time your needles will come in some form of plastic packaging, like this test tube here. I'm now doing biodegradable card packaging. This is a large set here and I've got them color coded, large, medium and small. This one comes with a set of 30 needles, so that's 10 of the large, 10 of the medium, 10 of the small. You can find them on my Etsy store. And now I'll go on to show you some really basic needle felting. So if you're a complete beginner and you so happen to have a cookie cutter handy, that's a great start because that will help you get the shape nice and easily. Here I have a small heart-shaped cookie cutter and I have some lovely pink fluffy wool, and I'm just going to take some off and place it inside my cookie cutter. Now this here is wool batting. The fibres are short, it's easy to pull off. So I'm just going to make sure it's the sharp end onto the mat there, pushing down so it doesn't come out from underneath. Placing the wool inside the cookie cutter. I'm going to use my large needle here as that will be quickest, just to start felting down, and all I'm going to do is push through the wool which will begin the felting process. Now you can see already that's come down in size. I'm being very careful of my fingers. Coming down again. Now going around the outside to make sure that's nice and firmly felted. Over the middle. As you become more confident with your felting, you'll start to go faster. Just be nice and gentle with the needle not to break it, just in an up and down motion. And I'm just going to speed this up and zoom over back and forth all over the area. Okay, and that should remain in shape. However, when you're felting a flat shape onto any mat or pad, the fibres will stick to the fabric or the mat. So I'm going to very gently just peel that off. You can see the fibres are stuck to the fabric. Therefore, when I take it off, it's left it quite fluffy. So I'm just going to felt over this side, and that will take down that fluffiness. That will also firm up this side of the felted heart. I'm just going to gently peel that off again. Here we have a felted heart. Now I'm going to place my heart back in the cookie cutter and I'm going to thicken it up a bit. I'm going to place some more wool on the top and holding that down, being careful of my fingers, I'm just going to felt that down roughly. And then all over again. This will make a nice, thick, dense, felted heart. Remembering to concentrate on the outside of the heart, and I'll take that off, and our heart's a lot thicker now, a lot more substantial. Again, it will need refelted on this side. You can always just brush the fibres down with your fingers, and as you're holding, just felt that down. I'm now going to use my medium needle, which in my case is the pink one, or a size 36, just to felt that down further. I don't want to distort the shape that much, so I'm using a finer needle for this process. Remembering to lift and turn your heart so it doesn't stick to your pad. I'm doing both sides now. Now just going round the outside and I'm felting inwards, especially down this area here. That will bring in the shape, and you'll find that you can actually sculpt with your needle. So you can sculpt your fibre into the shapes that you want. And there we have a small felted heart. You can always trim this down with a pair of sharp scissors. I like to use sewing scissors because you can get nice and close. Just gives that nice crisp look. You can always go over the surface if you want to defuzz it. If you want to add colours to your felts, all you have to do is just stab them on. So for example, I have a small piece of black here. I'm going to roll that in my fingers and make a small ball. I'm going to use my fine needle here to pick up that small ball on my needle and stick it in the wool and felt that shape in. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you could decorate your hearts with shapes and patterns. Just going to hold this piece down with my nail. Once you've stabbed a couple of times, it will hold. With a small piece of black here. If you lick your fingers, that can sometimes help the felting process as well. Here I'm making a line, so I've just twisted the fibres between my fingers. I want it a bit thicker, so I'm just doubling that length up there. Just going to make a little smile for my heart. So you just hold it on where you want it to go and then push through with the needle. You can trim off the ends there, or use the tip of your needle to pull the fibres into where you want and down and through. Just for extra cuteness, I'm going to put in a couple of little cheeks. Now you can tear your fibres apart as long as you're not holding too much at a time. Remember to roll it in your finger. There we go. Good little felted heart. So I hope you've enjoyed my short beginner's guide to felting. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more feltorials coming your way. Thanks for watching.